Good morning, Econ. I just wanted to create a short video to check in with you guys. I know we took our test on Friday. It was a little different than a test we've normally taken. I haven't really taken a look at those yet, but I hope to get looking at those sometime this week. Hopefully I can start today. They're going to take a while to grade, but hopefully I can get started on those today. That's the plan, at least. But mostly today I just wanted to say hi. Hope you had a great weekend, and kind of give you an idea of what we're doing this week and going forward, because this is the beginning of Unit 3. So I just want to touch on Unit 3 real quick, kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at for Unit 3. Unit 3 is about market efficiency and welfare. Really, it's about markets and about firms. We've talked, last unit was a lot about demand and supply, and those lay the foundations for what firms are doing, why firms kind of exist, and why they act in certain ways, particularly when it comes to how much they're going to supply, and in a sense, what they're going to supply. If there's demand for a product, and if there's enough demand for a product that they can earn a profit, someone's going to step in and provide that good or service, and they will earn a profit, right? So it could be that they only produce a handful of items, but as long as they can earn a profit that they feel is good for them, they will produce it. For instance, like I was just looking and saw a news article about some new Lamborghinis that they're only making a handful of. They're shipped directly to you. These are really expensive Lamborghinis, but they're only making a few. But the profit for them, right, once they add up the variable costs and the fixed costs, have their total cost, and then they compare it to how much they sell it for, revenue, total revenue, right, once they figure that out, that profit is high enough for them, for Lamborghini to say, okay, we're going to go ahead and make this car, because we know there's enough people going to buy it at a particular price point, in this case very high, that we can make enough profit to justify that and to make a profit for us. Other goods, right, you have to produce in much larger quantities, right? And that's what we're looking at, is how those firms make those decisions, comparing, understanding demand and supply. This unit now is more about the firms themselves, how they operate, how they're organized, and then we end a little bit with when a market fails, both when the capitalist system fails, right? And capitalist system is a great system, but we must recognize that there are times when that system fails, and then also when the government kind of helps it fail as well, when we have market failures due to some government intervention, whether it's taxes or subsidies, things like that. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and go into Canvas and pull up the unit outline for Unit 3. It's there. There's a module now called Unit 3, and there's Unit Resources page, and there you can find the Unit 3 market, the outline for Unit 3, market efficiency and welfare. I'm going to go over it, so I'm just going to, go ahead and pause and pull it up right now. And when you come back and unpause, I'm just going to quickly go over it, and that's going to be what we do today. So you can see that there's 2 chapters in your textbook. Again, we're doing a lot more than what your textbook does, but there are 2 chapters that cover the basics of what we're going to be talking about in this unit. And those are chapters 8 and 9. But we're going to be covering many more things. So then if we scroll down and we look at, we're going to have 9 lessons in this unit. So that means we have 9 key ideas that we cover. And almost everyone has 3 learning objectives. So we have our key idea for lesson 1, our 3 learning objectives, and then we have vocabulary. So those are the 3 columns in this outline. And as you read through that, right, I want you to, again, read through that now so that you kind of have an idea of what's coming up. I'm going to quickly just highlight a few things. So in lesson 1, we're going to talk about the lure of profits motivates entrepreneurs to take risks and start businesses. And we're going to talk about how an entrepreneur decides to do that, kind of what they have to do and what motivates them, particularly what skills they need to bring to starting their business and what may motivate them to do that. Then in lesson 2, we're going to be looking at different organizational types of firms or businesses: sole proprietorship, partnerships, corporations, LLCs. And these things nonprofit organizations, cooperatives, business franchises, different types of organization, ways that people have organized a firm, and the advantages and disadvantages to each one. If you were to start your own business, which this lesson is going to be very helpful, you're probably going to start with a sole proprietorship or maybe a partnership. And if it grows, and as it grows, you may consider some of these other forms. And so that lesson will help you understand that. Then we're going to continue to talk about business organizations, and in particular how they can grow and how different organizations choose to grow and why they may choose those methods. We are going to talk a little bit about business ethics, right? So not only is the main motivator for any business, whether it's a sole proprietorship or corporation, that main motivator is profit. We're going to talk about how there is also some ethics involved, other motivations for a business, or perhaps philosophical limitations on how a business may operate. Then we're going to talk about some market structures, right? Some of these ways that firms are organized, right? Sometimes they become very large, and sometimes they become a monopoly. And when we have monopolies or things that are similar to monopolies, which is what lessons 5 and 6 are really about, that changes the market, and how demand and supply interact with each other and determine price for a product. And so we're going to be talking about monopolies, oligopoly. Wow, that came out awful. Oligopolies, monopolistic competition, which is a situation in which there is more than one firm, but the market itself really operates like a monopoly. Then we're going to talk about ways that, particularly in the United States, government has tried to regulate monopolies, because there are some negative aspects of monopolies and monopolistic competition. Then we'll talk about market failure, and how capitalism can lead to market failure in certain ways under certain conditions, particularly when looking back to things like in monopolistic competition. And then we'll talk a little bit about how government can create some problems when it tries to prevent market failure. So sometimes the fix is worse than the problem. Sometimes the fix is about the same as the problem. It just creates a different problem. And we'll be talking about those. And that is our unit. So that's going to take us a couple weeks to go through. And to do that. I just want to say that this unit, for those of you who are really overwhelmed by the math and the charts and stuff, this unit is not as heavy as our previous unit on demand and supply. We will talk about it a little bit, for instance, when we talk about monopolistic competition and monopolies and how they set prices. But for the most part, this is fairly light on charts and math. So hopefully that gives some of you a little hope if that was something that you struggled with on our previous units. All right, that's it for today. I just wanted to check in again with you, and that is going to be your assignment. Just go over the unit outline, become familiar with it, look at those vocab words, look at those learning objectives and those key ideas, so that as we go through those lectures, as you watch the lectures, work through the concept checks, etc., you already kind of have a plan of what we're doing in this unit. Have a great day. Tomorrow we begin with our lecture, lesson 1 of unit 3. Bye.